We are back. We are talking with Ricardo Rincon-Von, who is a lawyer, and he's going to explain a little bit about what the lawyer's role is when it comes to selling a real estate or estate here in Spain. So tell us, what is your role when it comes to selling, helping the seller?
Well, our main role is to provide the buyer with all the paperwork he requests, to run his due diligence, sign a sales contract, receive the payments, calculate any amounts that for the period or the part of a year that the seller has been the owner of the property, he will have to pay. This will come normally by means of a retention that the buyer will make, because some things are due after selling, but for that year. So, calculate retentions, the plusvalia tax, which is a municipal tax that every seller will have to pay, calculate it and either pay it or allow the retention from the buyer, and capital gains tax, when there is a gain, which there normally is.
How much is the capital gains?
It's 19% of the profit.
19%, okay.
Today. I would say, in a nutshell, that's what the lawyer's role will be, to make sure that everything is undone and all the liabilities that the property implied towards the owner, now seller, are untied, and he's free of them, and they are all now belonging to the buyer. Okay. That would be it. And of course, giving the seller his money once we have it, which is probably the most important part.
And in your perspective, what to achieve this a good process, what do you think is the key factors? Can you say that in a very easy way?
Well, if we haven't handled the purchase of the property that we're now selling, the key factor would be that there is a very fluent communication between the client and the lawyers, because we would have to then be informed of everything that has happened during the period he's been the owner, and we didn't know anything about that property. If we have had that property in our files for all those years, then it's probably easier, because we are answering to ourselves in most of cases. So the client gives us instructions. If we don't have a power of attorney already, he will grant it. We will carry out the sale, calculate what are the costs of that sale, and provide a net amount after taxes and expenses to the seller. Easy, clean.
Do you have the same fees when it comes to selling as you are?
The fees are the same.
The same. Okay,
and
so
as a
it's
matter
very
of fact,
simple.
I would say that selling implies the same amount of work, but it's a different kind of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, both a purchase and a sale give a reasonable amount of work, which is easier when you know how to do it.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not more or less, it's just different. It's a different kind of work.
So let's say we have done this selling, and everybody is happy. Are your role finished by that, or are you still in the contact with the seller? Are you helping him out with declarations or things like that, or can you continue to be supportive, so to speak?
Yes, we can and we have to. So after the sale, there's normally some taxes that have to be paid. Capital gains tax after a few months. Plusvalia in some town halls takes up to a year to get paid.
And what was plusvalia now again?
It's a municipal tax that is calculated on the basis of the amount of time that you've owned the property. When you've had a property for more than a year, then plusvalia triggers. So obviously it's higher when you've had a property for 10 years than when you've had it for 2 years. And there is a formula to calculate this tax. It is based, amongst other things, on the tax value of the property.
Yeah.
And it is paid through the town hall. The word plusvalia actually means increase of value. And the literal translation is increase of value of land tax. But it's not capital gains tax. That's a national tax. Plusvalia tax is a municipal tax.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So not to be confused.
No, very good. One question which is popping up quite frequently in Estepona, in Marbella, and all along the coast is that there is something called license of first occupation. And that was something which was invented early in the 80s, and very many houses or villas or apartment doesn't have this. Is there a problem to purchase an apartment without this license of first occupation?
Not necessarily. The fact that, as you mentioned, the license of first occupation appeared at a certain moment in time, the truth is that this concept exists prior, but with a different name. Basically, it's an inhabitant's license. It allows you to move into, inhabit the property, and the town hall has to make sure that in order to grant this license, the property that they inspect is built according to the plans with which the building license was applied for. Mm. So if we go way back in time, we will find properties that were built without a building license, but they are still there and they are legal. After a certain number of years, we have to assume that these properties are consolidated by law. But of course they have restrictions. So it's convenient to make sure what is the particular circumstances of each property. A property can have occupancy license and still have licensing problems because works have been carried out in this property after the occupancy license, mm-hmm. or cannot have an occupancy license and have no problems. Each case is different, and each case should be looked into by an expert. Could be a lawyer, expert in licensing, could be an architect, but I would say that probably a lawyer, what we call an urbanist lawyer, is the best option.
Okay. All right. I think we have got a lot of answers on the selling part. Now we are going to speak a little bit about something else. So we come back. See you.